All right, now that I started talking, I think there actually needs to be a third section, which I was avoiding because I have basically such extremely limited experience, which is telling somebody you have a romantic relationship with that you're avoidant. Here's the deal. I have not had one since my diagnosis. It's been a decade since I kissed somebody. A long time, so I'm uncomfortable and feeling hypocritical that I'm even discussing this. But my instinct says if you're casually dating somebody that's similar to an coworker type situation, you don't need to tell them. If it's getting, to the point where it's pretty regular, so say 5 dates in, somewhere around there, or 2 weeks, depending on, some people start dating and they go every night. If that's the case for you, wow. Good for you. But I would say 5 dates or 2 weeks minimum, then maybe you might want to be thinking about it. Generally, if you're dating somebody, you don't want to lay heavy stuff on them. It's quite a while usually before people start saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. It's usually when there's a solid friendship established. And sometimes if you're dating, it takes longer for the friendship part to sink in than the rest. But again, because of how dating works, usually you're out of the house and you're out doing things in the world, that you would run into situations where the avoidance would crop up quicker. So again, sort of being a totally repetitive, I don't know what I'm saying. But then you expect that of me. It's a gigantic big deal to you. It impacts every part of your life. It's not that big a deal to any other person. The issue would be, hey, this person's having a party and I want you to go meet all of my friends. That's when I would say, hey. See, I wouldn't even give the diagnosis at that point. I would say, you know what? I'm much more of a one-on-one person. Why don't we make it real small? How about instead of meeting everybody all at once, how about I just meet a couple people? They're having a barbecue and you wish I would come along. Well, not really my scene, and it's nothing personal, and how about we start something a little bit lower, slower. I know what you're saying. For you, 8 people is not a big deal, but for me, 8 people really is. It's a very stressful situation. If they push you, then you can say, hey, I have this thing. So I know that there is a sort of a compulsion to warn people of what's going to happen, but you don't have to do that. You can wait. You can wait a long time, and that's what I'd recommend you do. Hold off. I would give you an absolute, like I said, absolutely cannot bring it up until at least you've had 5 dates and at least 2 weeks together, minimum. Because you're not getting married in 2 weeks, and people can't really completely fall in love with you in 2 weeks. Sorry, it's a fact. They might be really seriously attracted to you, but they're not going to fall in love with you in 2 weeks. So therefore, there's, it's not like you've got to tell them because they might fall for you and then they'd be stuck with you. This is not going to happen that quickly. So, but But I would wait. Now the thing is that the closer and closer you get, the more people that you're interacting with, and the more that your life becomes, when it gets to the point where you're assuming that you're going to be doing things together, like you are a couple, whether or not you've put the label on it or whatever you want to call it, if this is your boyfriend, girlfriend. But if it's an assumption that you're going to be doing something, Friday nights are your nights. Every Friday night, you don't even have to put it in your book anymore. This is a given. That's when you should probably have this conversation. And I wouldn't freak them out about it. I wouldn't say, I have this thing, it's going to... No. I would downplay as much as possible and try to be, I know this is going to sound nuts, try to be upbeat about it. And say, okay, I have this thing, and, it's not that big a deal. It just affects me, and these are the situations it pops up. These are the quirks that I have. If you're prone to panic attacks in certain situations, let them know so they can know that you avoid it, if, who knows, whatever it is. Because, if people understand there are quirks, and the person you're with is going to have their own quirks too. Who knows, maybe they're afraid of goats or something like that. Something will come up that will be really weird to you, and you're just going to deal with it. So I let them know if you're prone to depression. And again, you're going to say this and you're going to think, this person is going to bolt. I'm telling them this horrible thing. And you're going to think, if they don't bolt, there's something wrong with them. But especially if it's something that's that new, you don't know what they're capable of. You don't know what they've been through before. You don't know how strong they are. So what's a huge, giant deal for you might be nothing to them. It's kind of like, say, a vegetarian is dating a non-vegetarian. And the non-vegetarian, when they go out, they don't go to the steakhouse, that's their favorite restaurant. They go to a vegetarian restaurant instead. Big deal. On their days off, they can go to their steakhouse if they want. It's kind of like that. It is possible that people can make adaptations, but again, I know that there's going to be a part of you that's going to be like, I am horrible. I'm withholding this information, and it's this big giant deal, and it could impact them terribly. Could impact them. It's not a will impact them situation. Because if you're having a romantic relationship with somebody, generally you're comfortable enough with them that the avoidance sort of goes away. And the other thing about avoidance is, they've actually proven this, which is, I'm sort of like shoving this in your face, and I'm really sorry about it, but they have proven that people who have depression, and also have had childhood trauma, that being in a stable romantic relationship can stabilize and even stop their depression. That alone, being in a solid relationship. So all these things that you're so worried about are going to happen might not happen at all, just because you're in a relationship, as long as it's a good, solid relationship and you've got something to support you. So you don't have to tell them, but that's what I do. That's my recommendations on how to tell people. Well, I haven't really told you how to tell people, just other than, don't make it be like this big, huge, massive disclosure. It feels like that to you, but it's not to other people. It really isn't. They might come back and say, it might be the same as, I went to this college, or, I have 4 brothers. Might be the exact same level, or, I'm this religion. Eventually this is going to impact somebody. If you get married, you need to have a religious ceremony. You've got to figure out which celebrations you're going to have throughout the year. Eventually, this is going to be a thing. But in the beginning, when you're first dating somebody, unless it's a holiday season, that's not going to really impact you. Not really. So keep that in mind. This thing is huge to you, but it's not huge to other people. And so just take it slowly and gently and subtly, and try not to give into the sort of catastrophizing, this is this huge thing, because it's really not. I mean, it is really, can make you very sad, but it's not, and it can keep you from doing things that maybe you'd want to do, but who knows? I mean, you might have in your head, geez, I wish I could have been a professional ice skater or something, but you know what? Then you would have to be freezing to death all the time and practice all the time, and maybe it's not all that great. Maybe, you've got this idea that you maybe would want that, but maybe you are dodging a bullet. So you're thinking it's this huge thing that's limiting your life, but you can still have a big, full life on a small scale. That can happen. You've got this impression that people are out partying all the time. Doesn't happen. I mean, not unless you're a pro. I mean, and there are people like all these, reality celebrity people. I mean, that is their job, to go to parties every weekend. That's their job. That's why they go to parties every weekend. Other people don't do that. Most of the time, people don't do that. You get to the point where you want to be with your people, and yes, go out and do something, but in reality, that it's not that uncommon to sort of live an avoidant lifestyle. The thing is that people are very accepting of themselves. They don't have poor self-esteem. They don't think there's something wrong with them, because that's the problem with avoidance, is you always think there's something wrong with you, and that you're ashamed of it, and that you have to admit that you're damaged in this way, when there are people that have completely no avoidance whatsoever and have identical lives. They do the exact same thing as you. They just don't feel so bad about it. So you don't have to tell people like it's this huge, massive thing. I mean, you already get along. So, generally if you're not, I mean, unless somehow you, I don't know, got drugged and sent to some party that you would have never been to in your life, and you would have absolutely hated it and would have avoided on all counts if you were slightly with it, and that's how you met somebody. I mean, generally you meet people doing things that you can do and are comfortable with, like wherever you are. It's not, highly unlikely that you would meet somebody doing something wildly out of your comfort zone. So, generally people are going to accept what you're able to do. So it isn't as big a deal to other people as it is to you. Just, this is an absolute fact. Even your doctors won't think it's as big a deal as you do. And so if you sort of very subtly explain it and sort of downplay it, they'll just accept and say, oh, okay, all right, I'll keep that in mind. You're off the hook. You don't have to go to my big family get-together in December. No big deal. I'll just make an excuse that you had to go with your own family or something like that. And they'll start pressuring you, and you're totally off the hook. That is what that's what disclosing can be. It's not going to destroy somebody, and it's not going to make them not want you anymore just because you have the alphabet soup after your name. Everybody has something going on. I mean, oh my God, they might be allergic to cats. Ah, oh, how awful. That could actually make somebody want to break up with somebody. But being avoidant, unless you're faking it when you first meet them, being avoidant is not going to be a reason for somebody to break up.